So, all these protests that are happening in all the cities across Canada and the United States and Europe. Isn't it interesting that all these protests, protesting Gaza, protesting the genocide that's going on, are all happening in the cities? And I'm here to tell you why it's actually happening in the cities. And that is that the commercial industry of every sector is crashing. Yeah. So nobody's going to the office buildings to go work anymore. The urban centers are desolate. They are bankrupt. There's the occupancy rate in the commercial buildings is less than 50% at the moment. And that's not good for the insurance policies and the mortgage policies. But what they're doing is they're allowing these demonstrations to take place in these city centers because they don't want the people to realize that there's no business anymore. Nobody's doing anything. There's no more commerce being done. We're in decline, and people are not realizing this because they're out protesting, but they're not realizing that all the stores that they're protesting in front of are empty. If these protesters really wanted to make an impact, really wanted to hit home, they would demonstrate outside of the politicians' houses. They'd be outside of the constituency offices. They would be in front of Parliament, but they're not. They're in the major urban centers, and this is by design. They don't want people to realize that the economy is in free fall. And nobody, especially the commercial real estate market, is completely crashing. There is nobody going back to work. And if these office buildings don't have 60, 70, 80% occupancy, well, guess what happens to their mortgages? They default. Yeah, it's true. And so they bring the police out there to make sure that there's law and order, but there's nobody in those stores to protect the investments, right? So the police are there as a showpiece to say that we're doing something so that they can, get paid excessive amounts of money from the cities and councils to protect their citizens. But in fact, all they're doing is making more traffic, more population, more people out in the cities, giving you the illusion that everything is fine, that the only thing fine is the genocide happening in Gaza. But what they're actually not telling you is that our economies are toast. China just dumped another couple of $1 billion in US treasuries, which is a clear signal after those sanctions that were made against China, and more tariffs placed against China. But the fact is that they are realizing that the gig is up. And the United States, well, you're not a very prosperous nation anymore, are you? Not when Florida passed a law saying that 14-year-old kids can go and work. 14 years old. I thought prosperity meant that we were going to be better than our parents, not working harder than our parents. There you have it.